Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday evening, January 5th, 2026. Happy New Year. This is a regular meeting of the Gorham Planning Board. Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you please silence your cell phones? Ms. Ironman, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Ironman asked me
I'm
to call
sorry.
the roll. Sorry. So Mr. Hager,
Here.
Mr. Benson, Ms. Nichols,
Here.
Mr. Frank,
Here.
Mr. Delaney, Mr. is absent, Mr. Walsh,
Here.
Mr. Felly.
Thank you. We have a quorum. In your packet, we have approval of minutes from the December 1st, 2025 Planning Board meeting. I look to our secretary, Ms. Nichols. Do you have any comments, edits, suggestions, etc.?
Mr. Chair, I reviewed the minutes of the December 1st Planning Board meeting, and I found no errors or corrections. They look good to me.
Thank you. Any other members of the board? Any other questions or comments? Mr. Frank?
Ms. Nichols got it right.
Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, I move to accept the Planning Board meeting minutes of December 1st, 2025 as written.
Thank you. Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman's report. We have a very, very long agenda this evening, a very long agenda. And I will ask members of the board if we want to move things around a little bit based on the audience this evening. We'll see how that goes. That's all I have. Committee reports, please. Ordinance review. Mr. Walsh.
The Ordinance Committee has not met since our last meeting.
Thank you. Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. Mr. Frank.
We have not met.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Administrative review, looking to my right.
We've received no items for administrative review.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, according to our rules, guidelines, and pre-described layout, we have items for public hearing first, and we have items for discussion second. We have 11 items on the agenda this evening. It was posed to me that perhaps we would look at the audience and see who is here this evening, rather than make some of you wait till 10 o'clock. That is completely out of order. We would need a motion by someone on the board, and then I would guess, looking to my right, perhaps, or my left, to see how it might flow. Mr. Walsh?
Mr. Chairman, I would propose if we could do it, is a couple of these public hearings that, I mean, you can just ask. I'm looking at item 4, 5, and 6. I'm not sure if, maybe ask if anybody's here for those. Maybe if so, defer those further on down the line. And so we can get to some of the discussion points that there are people here in the audience, not have to make them wait in case we run out of time on something.
So you want to keep 1, 2, and 3 in order as it is?
I'm
Is that what I
guessing,
understood?
I am assuming, and maybe there's an incorrect assumption, that there
Is
might
Mr.
be-
Hess here? Thank you.
Perfect.
I see Mr. Morrow's here, and Mr. Fagan, are you here? Mr. Fagan? Okay, so that's 1, 2, and 3.
Perfect.
4, 5, and 6, we'll put that on the back burner for a minute. Item 7, also put that on the back burner. Maybe that'll come after the discussions.
Yep.
So is there a motion there?
Mr. Chairman, if propose that we adjust the agenda for this evening and place items 4, 5, 6, and 7 at the end of the agenda. And thus we would take items 1, 2, 3, followed by the discussion items 8, 9, and 10.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Anyone else? Anyone, any discussion about that? The idea is that we want to be home before midnight. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Are we all set on the right?
Yes,
Okay with
sir.
that? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go. Item number 1, a public hearing, site plan amendment, CMF Transportation and Logistics, 65 Old Canal Way, a proposal to construct a 19,200 square foot trucking facility and warehouse building with an attached 2,500 square foot loading area and associated infrastructure, located on map 34, lot 3-3 in the Old Canal Industrial Park, zone Old Canal Industrial, OCI. The applicant is represented by Henry Hess, PE, with Sebago Techniques. Would someone from planning like to kick this off, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Not to repeat anything, I will move on to the size of the lot. It is 6.5 approximately acres. The lot is zoned for Old Canal Industrial, which allows for warehousing and outdoor storage, which this is what's proposed here. There will be a wetland impact of 2,365 square feet. The key issues in this are traffic, parking, lighting, stormwater, landscaping, and utilities. So in terms of traffic, they have a trip generation memo that's pending. The parking spaces, there's a discrepancy between the written word and the chart that's in the plan, so they need to make those match up. They need a little more detail with the lighting. We want to make sure that they add some information about the lighting, that it needs to be full cutoff, should be recognized somewhere in the plans. They will need a SLOTA permit, and they need to follow the MS4 compliance criteria, which I know they know about. They're going to retain the buffer that's for the landscaping, and they've added some more plantings in that, which is a handy thing to see. The letters from Portland Water District for water and sewer are pending. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hess, please.
Thank you, members of the board. Happy New Year. I'll try and keep this brief. Seems like you have a packed agenda. This site, I believe the board actually might be fairly familiar. It's been approved in multiple different variations over the course of several years. The most recent previous approval was these marijuana facility that was about 40,000 square feet. So again, this use about half the size. Also, traffic generation wise. This is a facility with truck maintenance for, trucking capacity, highway tractor trailers. Trucks are gone most of the week. Mostly, actually, they come in on the weekend, get maintenance, and they want them back out on the road on Monday to take care of various deliveries and charters. So that's a little bit of background on the site. It's proposed to be phased out. They'd like to really build out the parking lot first. I believe a phasing plan was probably included in your packets. If not, I also brought a piece of it on the board this evening. Really just building out the front portion of the site, clearing and stabilizing the limits of the proposed pavements in all phases. Building about a 40 by 120 office space that's located or shown in the phasing plan up front there. Installing stormwater drains and stormwater facilities there as required. Mostly stormwater drainage, riprap, items like that to direct stormwater. Pave the parking area up front and gravel the remaining areas, as they will be paving as they continue to build the additions onto the back. Right now, they're anticipating a standard industrial style steel building, 1.5 stories. They're still working with a builder or an architect right now to actually compose those final drawings, which is why they weren't in your packet initially. Let's see here. Some of the remaining items there I saw in the comments when it regards to some of the lighting. We did submit a lighting plan. I did note that it was recommended we provide lighting up by the entry. We can certainly add light by the entry there before submitting final plans. And in that same vein, we'll submit a full-size lighting plan for clarity, that folks can see the full cutoff and all the specs along with that. The site itself, per the previous DEP SLOTA permit, was allowed a maximum impervious area of 271 acres. We've only proposed 2.4 acres on the site, so we are compliant with the current permit out there. And the max allowed development area is 3.13 acres, and the proposed development area is 3.03. So we're still, again, below the threshold for requiring any amendments to that existing permit there. I guess with that, that's certainly turned over to the board for any questions. I did want to note, Ms. Ironman did say it, but there is some wetland impact on the site. It was previously, the site also, and a previous approval was impacting about 2,628 square feet of wetland. This site, as proposed, is proposing about little under 300 feet less at 2,365 square feet. So a little less than what was previously proposed. The site does have an entry on Old Canal, very similar to the previously proposed location, and then actually an additional entry or exit, as it were, to suit the circulation of larger vehicles there, adjacent to the hammerhead along Old Canal. So I certainly yield my time back to the board and answer any questions you may have, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, members of the board. Okay to jump into the public hearing, or do you want to ask questions?
I have a question first.
Please, Mr. Frank.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is, according to our notes, the first time we've seen this. They're proposing 3 phases. Do we have a master plan? Don't we need a master plan for 3 phases?
Not in this case.
Oh, okay.
You don't need them in all cases. They do have a plan that's shown before you, but it's not a requirement with formal recommendations.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
And excuse me if you mentioned earlier, but what is your timeline look at for each of the phases?
It's really, the only reason it's broken into phasing is just from a financial standpoint to make sure they can get the office operational and start moving some vehicles through, and then as soon as they're able to, just start moving through the next phases there. So I would say it's going to be pretty sequential year after year there.
And is this a new business or existing business?
Let me make sure I answer the question. The business has been around since about 2010, so it's been 15 years, but it hasn't been in this location, obviously. So it's a new business to the location in Gorham.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Nichols.
I'm just wondering if you could point,
Yeah.
out where the wetlands are. I don't see
Certainly.
them identified.
All right, so where the wetlands are the edges of this dashed line in through here. And what's being impacted is this section hatched. We call it kind of the back side of the building there. There's a little point that sticks out
Right
into the
down
pavement
on
there.
this map.
That's where you can see it's about 2,365 square feet.
Different sheets for different purposes.
Just to clarify, so that large area that looks like it's surrounded by tree line,
Yes.
if I'm reading that right, that's all wetlands? And the only part impacted is that one?
Now, let me describe that a little better. You may see some dashed lines with a wetland symbol. I guess the easiest one to see it on might be, well, honestly, L100. You could also look on the site plan as well. It should be on each sheet. L100 is very clean in terms of it doesn't have extra contours or utilities on it. It's about the 4th or 5th sheet back.
It's the landscape.
It is the 6th sheet back, I apologize. And if you're looking behind the building, you'll see a tight dashed line that comes to a point near what would be the loading dock. And that is the extent of the wetlands through there, is that tight dashed line
Okay,
that's being filled. Now, there is a small pocket that does continue down towards Old Canal, but that's not being impacted.
that was it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there is anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone that would like to speak against this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. finally, if there is anyone that is neutral about this project that would like to speak to the project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. I see no one rising. I will close the public hearing. Members of the board?
I just have a
Colonel,
follow-up
please.
for the staff. My understanding is that this project, the size of the building after the Phase 3 is complete, is smaller than what has been previously approved, and that the impact to the lot is less than what was previously approved as well.
That's true.
Thank you.
Anyone else? There is some dashes of yellow throughout. I believe they have been addressed, or they will be addressed since this was published to us.
They will be addressed. They have not
Okay,
to date.
okay, thank you. Mr. Walsh, did you?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Questions for Mr. Hess? Okay, moving along. Yes, please, Colonel.
Mr. Chair, I move to grant CMP Transportation and Logistics request for a site plan approval of a 21,700 square foot warehouse and trucking building and associated infrastructure located on map 34, lot 3-3, the Old Canal Industrial Zoning District, based on finding of facts and conditions of approval as written by the town planner and without amendments.
Thank you, Colonel. Is there a second?
Mr. Frankel, second.
Mr. Frank, thank you. Any other discussion or any other questions for Mr. Hess or the planning department?
No.
Thank you. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Ladies and gentlemen, item 2, a public hearing, preliminary subdivision and site plan, Thistle, is it Pettit? Petite? Petite, thank you. Thistle Petite Condominiums, a proposal to construct 32 units of multifamily housing with associated infrastructure on County Road on map 6, lot 14-2, zoned South Gorham Commercial Corridor. The applicant is represented by Andy Merle, PE, with BH2M. I'll look to planning to please present this.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is the second time this applicant's been before the board. The request review of preliminary subdivision site plan. It was before the board in June of 2025. The previous submission that they submitted concurrently with the master site development plan review. They secured master plan review in September of 2025. The previous preliminary subdivision site plan was tabled pending approval of the master site development plan. So now that they've had approval of the master site development plan, they've resubmitted the preliminary subdivision site plan with responding to a number of changes that had been requested based on staff, peer review, and planning board comments. They have submitted a soil survey, water supply well data, a concept plan for a left turn lane from County Road. They've adjusted the access drive layout to address emergency vehicle access and board comments about block-style street development, and also have submitted HOA documents, which have been reviewed by the town attorney with some additional comments there that need to be addressed. Some outstanding items that we're still looking for here would be the nitrate plume analysis, state and federal stormwater permits, photometric plan, landscaping plan, vehicle turning movement plans, updated septic designs based on engineering comment, proof of financial capacity, finalized stormwater treatment designs based on engineering peer review comments, waste hauling information, and some additional peer and staff review comments as well. Looking for some board input on the architectural plans. We put in the memo, you'll find that there's some of the standards are listed from the ordinances. looking for the board to comment on whether it feels that those are met or not. One item staff have identified that we encourage you to discuss with the applicant is the density calculations. It appears that the density allowed would be 31 units. There's an existing housing unit on the site as well as an accessory dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling units are exempt from density, but the existing dwelling unit would count. So it appears that they are 2 units over the allowed density. So encourage the board to discuss that, and there are, if the board chooses to grant them, some wording for 2 waivers. One from the requirement for public water sewer provision, and the other one for fee in lieu of off-site sidewalks. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yerkeloff. Mr. Morrow, please.
Good evening, Andy Morrill, civil engineer with BH2M. Also with me is the applicant, Chris Mitchell and Susan DeShane. We appreciate you guys listening to us tonight. I will try to be brief, knowing you have a long agenda this evening, but I certainly want to touch on a lot of the things that we've been working on since you guys have seen this. We've been quite busy trying to move this thing forward. We redesigned the site since we met in December to be a looped roadway system. In doing so, we modified the building layouts so that we now have 8 3-unit buildings and 2 4-unit buildings. We kind of looked at that briefly when we were doing the master site plan, but that design has all been now finalized since that time. Stormwater, as the board knows, is kind of a big aspect of this project. We're kind of using a unique stormwater approach. The stormwater was redesigned for the site. We now are proposing 6 R-tank units that you can see on the site plans to handle the stormwater. This layout actually worked out significantly better from a stormwater point of view. Looking at the stormwater report, you can see that the numbers worked out quite a bit better than they were previously, so that was good. Wells and septics, as a result of the new layout, have all been shifted around the site to accommodate state requirements for offsets and all of those necessary requirements. Mark Hampton Associates has designed the septic systems. We now have 10 leach fields spread out throughout the site, 1 per building, and we are proposing 5 wells. I did speak to Mark Hampton today. He said the layout as we've got it is adequate and is willing to move forward with that design. Mark Cincy Geologic Inc. is working on a nitrate plume analysis. When I have that, I will submit that to you guys. I spoke to him today as well, and the layout as we've got it meets all the state and town requirements. He's just kind of finalizing his report. So certainly prior to final subdivision approval, the subdivision review process, I'll have that to you guys for your review. The phasing on the plan has been updated from when you guys saw it last, obviously to match the new layout. The big item we've been working on is the turning lane on Route 22. Last time we were here, we talked about whether we needed a turning lane, whether we needed the right-in, right-out approach. We've eliminated the right-in, right-out approach. We now have a turning lane on the plan you can see here before you. VHB has come up with this conceptual layout. We are proposing, on the plan that we submitted to you guys, the red area is where Route 22 will be widened. It's all on the southern side of Route 22. The pavement striping will allow for a 50-foot left turn lane traveling east along Route 22 into the parcel. Most of the project will involve pavement striping, redoing the striping in this area. It'll involve approximately 302 feet to the west and 272 feet to the east of the project intersection. So we're looking at roughly 300 feet in either direction that will be involved in these improvements. We worked with the town to complete the survey work in Route 22. I want to reach out and thank the town for their help. That is a very busy road that our surveyors would have been run over if we didn't have someone out there to help us. So we appreciate them helping us with that. But the survey work has been complete. We are now working through the final design of this turning lane, and we'll certainly have that to you guys when we submit for final subdivision approval. Last time we were here, we talked about the project is 25% non-age restricted, 75% 55 and older. I kind of spelled that out on the plan under note number 24, just to be more clear what specific units will be age restricted and which units will not. Also added plan note number 29, stating that the access road will be built to the rural access standards, which we talked about at the last meeting. I just wanted to point that out, that information was all added to the plans. We did receive the town comments from last week. There's a lot there when you start looking at it. I think the comments can be addressed. As the board knows, this is a subdivision approval and a site plan approval. So we've got basically 3 approvals that we need: preliminary subdivision, final subdivision, and site plan approval. So we've got quite a few steps to get through this process. So my hope is that the board would be willing to consider preliminary subdivision approval this evening, and we can come back to the board for final subdivision and site plan approval at a future meeting once we've addressed the outstanding issues. But I went through the items. There's certainly some cleanup items that need to be taken care of. We'll be sure to have all that cleaned up in the coming application to you guys. The applicant will revise the HOA documents based on the town attorney's review to make sure those items are addressed. There were 2 waivers recommended in the memo, as the board saw and as Damon mentioned. They're items that we've kind of talked about, but for formality, we probably should go through the waiver process. Public sewer and water, we've all talked about how far away this project is from those and how obviously unfeasible it is to connect those. So in lieu fee for the off-site sidewalks, I think, again, sidewalks are so far away from this site. I think it's kind of a good project for something like that. As we move forward, we will certainly submit photometric plan, landscape plan, address the Wright Pierce minor engineering comments and the traffic review engineer comments. VHB will be sure to respond to those as we work through the design and final subdivision. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll throw it back to you, and happy to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Members of the board? Colonel?
I just have one before we go. I know this is a public hearing as well. Do you have a graphic that shows the original plan that you submitted and the changes that you're proposing?
I have a site plan. I don't have the when you say the last plan, do you mean like the building layout plan?
Yeah, I'm just trying to refresh my memory on the last thing that you showed us, so I have something to compare it to.
So this layout is quite a bit different from the original layout that we submitted, but this is almost exactly the same layout we looked at in September when you guys gave us the master site plan approval.
Okay. And there was some discussion, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
make sure that I have the right project in mind. There was some discussion of making this a right turn only.
Correct.
Off of the route.
Correct.
So we had some discussions surrounding how that would occur.
Correct.
And now so that's part of the reason you've gone to the widening of the road and doing the turn lane.
Correct.
So the intent would be, they'd be able to access that turn either direction?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And the
That was a big part of the discussion, so I
That was
just
a
wanted
huge
to
part
make
of the
sure-
discussion, and it was really driving the project, right, to make sure we got the access to this parcel to work and be safe.
Right.
So that's ultimately where we've gone and how we've ended up where we're at.
Okay.
We did, full disclosure, we did present 2 different layouts of a potential turning lane to the town. We met with Chuck and the peer review engineers and looked at 2 different alternatives. This was the preferred alternative, I think, by everybody. So that was the approach that we've gone with.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, I guess the question was raised earlier about the number of units. And Andy, can you speak to that?
I can. I know we'd run density early in the project. I thought we were at 32 units, but I can rerun that again and confirm. It sounds like, Damon, you're saying we're at 31 units. Is that?
That's correct, based on the area, and if you want to double check, that's certainly something we'd welcome.
Yeah.
Perhaps with your updated survey information, you've shown the area being different from what was listed.
Could be.
So, yeah.
I'm fairly confident we're at 32, but I'll be sure to check that and just confirm that with you guys.
And there is a unit on the site, and that has to be counted as well.
Mr. Walsh?
One other question with regard to the age restriction.
Yeah.
I know this is past muster with the town attorney, so it's probably fine. I'm just not familiar with it. I have become very familiar with 80% age restricted HUD regulations recently, in another hat I wear. Was not familiar with the 75% threshold. I looked it up and it said the HUD doesn't recognize that threshold. Is there something I'm missing?
That was a number we had just thrown out as the applicant preferred to have 25% of these units not be age restricted and 75% to be 55 and older.
And I was also curious, I see that you've designated specific units to be age restricted.
Yes.
Is that a choice or is that of some regulation for that?
I'm not aware of that being a choice. It was an item I think we talked about with staff at maybe one of the department head meetings. They wanted an idea of which units were going to be which, so we spelled them out on the plan. I'm not aware of any requirements to call those out.
Yeah, and again, in the other hat I wear, it's not specific to units, it's just total overall, which makes it easier. It makes it easier to manage.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
Anyone else? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there was anyone that would like to speak to this project, in favor of this project, please state your name and address, approach the podium, and give us your thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, if there was anyone that wants to talk against this project, please state your name and address, approach the podium. It's going to be a long night. And give us your thoughts, please. Ladies and gentlemen, if there was anyone that would like to address this project, either neutrally, hopefully, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. I see absolutely no one rising. I will close the public hearing. Members of the board.
Mr. Chairman, question for Chuck. I looked over the turning lane and all that, and are you happy with what is presented at this point?
We met with Andy and went over the options. It's still a sketch at this point. So I think the town is happy with the intent to make this a left in, left out with a left turning movement from County Road. But we'd wait to make any actual engineering comments until final design. So I would say at this point, schematically, we're happy with the left-hand turn lane. If any additional comments come up, they'll just be during the actual design review process.
Okay, and just from a standpoint of abutters, where this does go beyond the property along County Road, and I'm assuming it's all within the legal right-of-way, what happens for the abutters that some of these are going to get a little bit of their frontage trimmed, I imagine, right?
It's all going to be within the actual right-of-way, the state right-of-way and town right-of-way. So at least the way that it has been presented to us is there wouldn't be any fee taking to any of the abutters.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute, please. So we have a proposal here that is not incorporated in any other part. Will this at some point come back to us for approval?
Yes, so that is a concept plan. So what we'll have to see and what we'll pass along to our peer review engineers would be an actual engineered set of plans that will show the widening of the road, cross-sections, lane widths, and we'll get
Striping, all of that.
striping, all of that, yeah. So we'll get a little bit, that, again, an aerial concept plan is basically just that, just the concept. They'll go through the actual design process.
So the design drawings that we're seeing now are actually from the cut in the road
Right.
and that driveway in?
Right.
Thank you. Everyone understand that? Okay, Ms. Nichols, please.
I just wanted to comment that I know that part of our discussion last time as well was flow of traffic in here, and I like the way you have it designed. You're coming in, it's one circle all the way around and out, so thank you for doing that, nice job. I do have one question on mailboxes. I saw in one of the comments that it was unclear where they are. I can see on this drawing, it looks like, is there only one place for the mailboxes? So everybody goes to that same little corner? Or is there mailboxes somewhere else? The bottom right-hand corner. There.
Yeah.
Is that?
So this is a kind of a community gang mailbox at the end of this little turnout here.
So that's everybody's mailboxes are
Correct.
going to be down in there?
That's correct.
Okay. It's clear then.
Colonel?
Yeah, are you looking you're looking to gain approval on waivers? You're seeking waivers tonight as well, is that right?
Based on the memo, I think it's probably a step that we probably ought to go to. I would lean towards planning to see how they wanted to handle that, but it sounded to me, reading the memo, that they thought it was best to take action on those waivers.
And that's appropriate tonight?
I think so. Ultimately, it'll weigh on how they finally design everything. So they should know one way or the other if they have a waiver granted.
But you agree that a waiver is warranted in each case, based on the precedent that we've set with other projects?
I mean, that's up to the board to determine that ultimately, but it does seem consistent with the ordinances and with the intent here to create the development consistent with those ordinances.
I would add in that the public water worksheet hasn't been submitted, but we could probably guesstimate that it would be, the calculation is going to work out. So, because it's so far away from any public water.
Mr. Walsh?
So are we looking for a motion on these waivers? Are we ready for that?
It's good for me, if the board decides.
Well, Mr. Chair, I move to grant a waiver to Christina Mitchell for, from 300-1.154-L-1, .1.154.L.1.A. I'm not going to read the next waiver. And 300-1.154.L.1.B to waive the requirement for the requirement to extend public water and sewer at tax map 6, lots 14.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Glad you got through that.
Mr. Benz?
Second.
Second.
Colonel, thank you. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Ms. Nichols, are you opposed?
No, no.
Okay, thank
My
you.
hand just
Thank you.
went up a little late, a little slow.
We want to be home before midnight.
Yes.
Ladies and gents, there's another waiver. We can wait. We can hold on. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move to grant a waiver to Christina Mitchell from 300-1.139.f and 300-1.149 to waive the requirement for off-site pedestrian connection and allow payment of an in lieu fee at tax map 6, lots 14 and 14-2.
Is there a second?
Dave Walsh, second.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Any other discussion? Please.
Just a question. So sidewalks will be provided inside, which includes up to County Road?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not aware of any sidewalk on County Road.
No, there's not, but I'm just thinking if that's our growth area, as long as getting the sidewalk to the
Sure,
road,
sure.
eventually that'll connect.
All right, motion and second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Just a note to Planning Department, and I don't mean to harass you. On page 15, page 16, last names, please. Please, let's add last names to the record. We have several people with the same name, perhaps. Don't want to misconstrue or blame anyone. Mr. Marino as well on page 16. I understand that they send their emails and it's just Bill or Jim or Frank or Barbara, but I'd like to see a last name, if you don't mind, for the legal record. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Please, Mr. Walsh.
Question, Andy, on page 8 of 43.
Yeah.
Under the fire chief's comments, he talked about plowing in the winter, and where do you see in here with, now that you have the loop design, which I think I asked for that way back when, so thank you for doing that. Looks great. Where do you see snow being pushed?
I think we've got quite a few options, certainly in between these buildings here, certainly along this stretch of road here, same with this side over here, and I think in this corner and along this edge are the primary snow storage areas. I'm happy to add that, add a hatch to the plan moving forward.
Will there be curbing?
There will not.
Okay, yeah,
Nope.
yeah, so that would be good to just designate the snow storage areas.
Sure.
Members of the board, for me personally, I'm looking at, it's an improvement, but on pages 20, 21, 22, 23, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, the entire page. 38, 39, almost the entire page, 40. Many issues are highlighted for us. Little heartburn, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. To the planning department, are you in some kind of uneasiness as well, or are you feeling good?
I would prefer less yellow, that is true. I am confident that Mr. Morrow and his capabilities can get it to be absolutely none by the time he applies for a final plan review. But I leave it up to you as a board.
I
And
think
your
there's
comfort.
if I can butt in there, I think there's quite a few items that are outstanding. I don't see anything there that's kind of a game changer, if you will, something that can't be relatively easily addressed. I think that's why we're kind of hoping we could be considered for preliminary.
I hear you loud and clear. I understand, respect your
Yeah.
position. I'm just looking at 13 pages of the 43. 30% of this submittal is still heavily yellow. And with all of the effort and time and work, and you've done a tremendous amount of upgrade, that you've heard our wishes
Yep.
and going along with the zoning.
Yep.
Mr. Frank, please.
Thank you. I share your level of discomfort with the quantity of the yellow. However, I'm comforted by Carol's confidence and Andy's confidence that everything will get fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
Mr. Chair, if it will help.
Please.
You could reduce some of the yellow through discussion of the architectural plans, which is, it's highlighted because it needs board input, so that may help the applicants if you give them the okay on that yellow would go away. Yes, so basically, the board should discuss to the extent it feels that the designs meet the standards that are listed here for a number of building materials.
Starting on page 36.
Yes, that
35.
would be where you'd start.
35, materials and structures.
35, sorry.
Yep, that's okay, that's okay.
I put the architectural plans up here on, if the board is wanting to refer to those.
In the sake of moving this along, this front view elevation,
Yes.
excellent, my opinion. Like the contour, like the shading, like the different materials, that's my opinion. I'd like to hear from others. Mr. Frank?
I'm very curious, Andy, where can we go to have a firsthand look at Mitchell Woods condominiums? Well, that's what it says on your thing, Mitchell Woods condominiums.
Yeah, that was the previous name. We changed the name of the project since we
So
submitted to you
I
guys.
thought
So
this was a copy from something you
no,
already
that was the
built.
previous name. We changed it.
Okay.
Changed it.
Whoops.
I apologize. I didn't mention that, so I probably should have. So I apologize.
Look at it. I know.
All right. Anyone else on the renderings?
Yeah, it appears to me that they meet the standard, just looking at what's required, looking at it there, you got the differences in materials and the facades, some nice architectural features, they look good.
This is for units 25 through 28 or 29 through 30, the four units? Because the other buildings are 3-unit buildings.
Right. But I'm assuming they'll all be the same facade.
I would think so.
They are, yes.
All the folks get a different. I don't mean to be facetious. Colonel, I'm sorry, I
I was just going to say,
interrupted
no, a lot of the yellow was taken care of with the waivers. The buffering and landscaping and lighting, I concur with Mr. Frank's comments and his faith in the planning staff. Any discussion about the groundwater protection and stormwater permit and where we are in that process?
So we have some comments outstanding from Wright Pierce on stormwater that we need to address. Those will be addressed when we come back to you guys for the next submission.
So you've already started work on it? And
Yes.
just-
Yep.
Wait.
Stormwater report's all been submitted. That's all in part of the review that was just done. There's just some tweaks that need to be made to that.
And the staff is comfortable with that, where we are with that?
Yes, and also the nitrate plume analysis, and just look at Chuck to see if he has any thoughts on stormwater design, but basically what they're going to be looking at doing is including treatment in the tanks as well as storage, and they're working through that, and that's the Wright Pierce will review that as well to make sure it meets the standards.
That's correct, and any outstanding comments from that have to be resolved by condition of approval before they move forward, so we're comfortable with that.
Appreciate it.
Larger items may be the number of units, so one thing perhaps the board should discuss is if they were to reduce by 2 units, how that would be accomplished. It is easier to reduce the number of units than add them typically, moving from preliminary to final, but it still may be worthwhile to give them some guidance or see if the applicants have thoughts on that. Perhaps you could eliminate 2 of the 3-unit buildings and replace that with a 4, or there could be other options. I think it may be worth some discussion.
I'll throw this out. First of all, I'm hoping you're both starting with the same amount of square footage, that you're using the same number. And if we're not, then I can see how we can squeeze in 32 units versus, so let's make sure that we're agreeing on the square footage to begin with, and then do that calculation.
Yep. I'll provide a summary when I come back to you guys of those density calculations.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'll put it right on the plan, so it's
Sure, sure.
out there for everyone to see.
I'm sorry, Ms. Nichols, go ahead.
So we have, we have a letter that came from Dan McGillicuddy, who's in a butter, and he is concerned about where the snow pileup is going to be as you plow, where you're storing it, and then as it melts down, that some properties are going to be affected. Yeah. And it's mostly up in that northwestern corner where they're talking. So I just want to make sure that we are very mindful. I think what he's looking for is, the other question here is that there's a riding rink apparently back there. And there's a concern of water flooding over to those properties, two properties, McGillicuddy, and the other one must be Brim.
It is Polanco, right?
Might be. So I just wanted to be sure that we address any runoff and whether there can be any kind of protection from this facility, this neighborhood, and the farm next door, if that, we could put up some sort of a barrier there.
Yeah, so all of the grades on our parcel are heading in the opposite direction. We're directing all of our stormwater to the wetlands in the south, if you will. So we're not directing anything in the direction of that parcel.
Okay, because that was one thing I also noticed, that you've got your septic here, and of course, I'm always looking out for the environment, but I also know that wetlands are great filters. And that maybe that would be part of the plan, especially if you needed to get rid of a unit, to have an area more in that side where all the snow goes to be piled, and then nature will take care of the draining of it.
Yep, I'll show
wanna make
the
sure.
snow storage areas on the plan. You guys can take a look at the snow storage and the grading, and
Okay.
you'll see that all
I just
is
wanna be
flowing
sure
in the
that was
opposite direction.
addressed.
Yeah, I'll make sure to take a look at it.
All right, thank you.
Moving along, members of the board, anyone else want to talk about the renderings? We don't need a waiver for that, because it's a point that we've agreed upon.
It'd be a finding, so
Yep,
if
yep,
you're
yep.
finding that meets the requirements,
Yes.
that'll be reflected.
Yes, that's a rendering, yes.
I do have one question.
Go ahead, please.
It looks to me like those are wood shingles. Are those wood shingles? What is that? On the roof or on the side? No, not on the roof, on the.
Gable
on
end.
The gable end and the whole front, where the front door is. They look like a shape, but they're not wood.
They're vinyl.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Walsh?
There's been a lot of information has been pulled together for this, and I think if staff is comfortable with preliminary, I'm supportive of moving to preliminary approval.
I'm sorry, was that your motion?
No, I'm just discussing opinion and seeing what the consent, others here are thinking.
I'll share that this is greatly improved from the first round and the second round, and I think this is probably the third round. Greatly improved. I've already shared my wish that there was a little less yellow, but I understand all the other work that was put into us, and it wasn't put in there. Looking to my right, I know these professionals will cross the Ts, dot the Is. I think they hear our concerns. It's recorded and public record. So I'm in agreement with you.
So,
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant Christina Mitchell's preliminary subdivision approval request to construct a multi-family age-restricted housing project located at MAP 6, Lot 14, Zone South Gorham Commercial corridor based on findings of facts and conditions of approval as written by the town planner. And do we amend anything tonight?
No.
Do we throw anything in about the number of units?
It was,
Units is not listed in the motion. That would be a staff comment that would need to be addressed.
and what about the turning lane?
Another that's a peer review staff.
Okay,
comment that
so,
would need to be addressed.
so there was no amendment at this point? We're still waiting for information, so there's nothing really to amend.
The finding of fact on page 18 says the applicant is proposing a site plan and subdivision resulting in 32 dwelling units in 10 multifamily buildings, but
That would have to be edited if it's required to be edited based on the density recalculation.
so you want us to throw in as amended?
Well, it'd be covered by this, that all staff and peer review comments will be
Yeah.
addressed, I think.
It wouldn't be
but
necessary.
Yeah, wouldn't that be part of the final?
It would be.
Also that.
If we were at final, Jim, I think it would
Right,
have to
no,
amend.
this was just
yeah.
written last week, or
Yeah.
for this evening, that's why I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah.
So we have no amendments,
No.
So
okay?
as written by the town planner, period.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Any other questions for Mr. Morrow? Any other questions for the planning department? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good work.
Get it done.
Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing, item number 3, Master Plan Site Amendment, Connector Commons, Jordan. A request for approval of a master site plan, master site development plan for a 3-phase mixed-use development on Washburn Drive, located on map 22, lot 7, zone South Gorham Crossroads. The applicant is represented by Austin Fagan, PE with BH2M. I'll look to Planning Department to introduce us, please.
Mr. Chair, so what the applicant is proposing here is a mixed-use development located at the end of Washburn Drive, which would be, it's located adjacent to the roundabout end of the Gorham Bypass on Route 114. 3-phase development. First 2 phases would be proposed to be on-site water and septic. Phase 3 potentially on public utilities if they're extended to the site, pending other developments that are in progress at this time, and build out of that infrastructure. There's several questions that have come up through staff's initial review of this. One is that there's been an extensive cutting on this site, and would like that to be reflected in landscaping plans going forward and incorporated into buffers to the extent practicable. There's some other comments as well. On the phasing, we'd look to the applicants to show that there are appropriate turnarounds between the phases so that in between the build-out, emergency vehicles are able, and large vehicles are able to turn around safely. Parking, the ordinance requires that parking be oriented to the sides and rear of buildings, not between access drives and buildings, and also that the amount of parking required is dependent upon the proposed uses, so we'd look for some more information on the proposed uses, knowing that they're looking for general commercial, but some of the appropriate scales are at least kind of are met. Road designs, the zoning requires interconnected block-type configurations. This configuration is would describe as not a block type, so we'd look for some edits to that as well, some to make it more consistent with the block layout that's envisioned and required by the zoning. The sidewalks will need to be shown within the development. If the applicant is not interested in building out off-site sidewalks, they would need to seek a waiver for that with an in lieu fee. If the board, it's up to the board to grant that, as we were discussing during the last application. Utilities, we recommend that the applicants coordinate with other developments going on in the area and with the town and Portland Water District if they are looking to get water and sewer extended in Phase 3. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Yakulov. You mentioned something about extensive on the site. I missed the word after that.
Oh, vegetation clearing.
Oh, thank you, vegetation.
That's something that came up, I believe Chuck Condonier and Terry Deering, the Public Works Director, had mentioned that.
Yep, Terry beat me to the question. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Mr. Morrow, we're through that other one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Please.
Andy Morrell, BH2M. With me also is the applicant, Gary Jordan. Damon did a great job introducing that, so I will be very brief. 7-acre parcel, zoned South Gorham's Crossroads at the Gorham Bypass Route 114 intersection. This is a really exciting project. I think this could be something really cool. What Gary's looking to do is Phase 1 being a 8,500 square foot building with commercial units on the first floor, residential units above. Access off of Washburn Drive and associated parking as part of Phase 1. Phase 2 would then be again an 8,500 square foot building, commercial units on the first floor, residential units above. Mixed use development with some associated parking. Phase 3 would be a 25,000 square foot building, again with commercial units on the first floor, residential units above. We don't know the uses of these buildings. There are a lot of factors involved in moving this project forward. We've shown what we're anticipating at this time. I think it's all kind of subject to change based on use, based on space available, space required, these type of factors. But to start having a discussion, we wanted to kind of put on paper some things of a layout that what this project could look like. There's certainly lots of opportunities on this piece for doing different things. But that's kind of why we're here, is to get some direction from the board, get some direction from abutters, and kind of start having a conversation about the project. As Damon said, our hope is to do phases 1 and 2 with drilled wells, subsurface wastewater disposal systems. Phase 3 most likely will require public sewer and water for the project. We did have a series of meetings with staff to review the project, had a PRC meeting back in October. Some of the items we talked about was Public Works wanted an improved hammerhead at the end of Washburn Drive. I guess the hammerhead that's there is a little insignificant when it comes to turning around larger vehicles. So I think something like that could probably be accommodated into this project. That's certainly something we'll work with Terry as we move through the design. Damon mentioned the block standards that the South Gorham Crossroads require. Our office took a look at that. I think we can do some things to make this meet that requirement and not change the layout drastically from what's here. So I think moving forward, we can certainly put on paper something that would certainly meet that requirement. Parking on the side and the rear of the buildings and not in the front of the buildings. As you can see, I think in phases 1 and 2, we've got parking in front of the buildings. That's our preferred location. I think that's the ideal location for it, but if the ordinance is not going to allow that, we certainly can adjust accordingly. A lot of that ties into the previous comment about the block standards. Those two things kind of go hand in hand. We did get the town comments, appreciate those. Internal sidewalk on the project, we understand will be required. We will certainly update the plan to show an internal sidewalk. External sidewalk off-site, I think we can all agree this is so far away from any sidewalk. I think this might be a good candidate to consider for the in lieu fee, but I'll leave that discussion up to the board to have. Moving forward, traffic study, nitrate analysis, lighting, landscaping plans, all the usual, design steps that we would take when we take a project like this through, we will certainly provide for the board. Damon mentioned appropriate turnarounds at the end of each phase. I think that's a great point. Let's make sure the fire trucks and vehicles can turn around as this project gets built over time. So we'll certainly consider that. We're thinking kind of the intersections of these different parking areas would be a good way to have those be phasing turnarounds. So we'll take a look at that when we go through this. But looking for some direction from the board this evening. And Gary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'll wait for good questions.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Members of the board, any questions? Ms. Nichols?
All right, just looking at the design here, we've got the Gorham bypass. You're coming around that corner where now it looks like it's just everything's been cleared out of there. Yes. And what I'm going to see coming down Gorham bypass and heading up South Street is parking, and fence. That's all anybody's going to see. That's the view of that entire corner. So I just want to put that just jumps out at me of what that's going to look like going out. And the only other comment that just jumps out without going through all of my notes, which I'll wait till other comments come, is that there is a lot of parking. There's a lot of pavement in there. And there is opportunity, as you know, as we did with that previous project, of continuity of that road, so you don't have you're not getting in there and then you're going in and you get a Y and dead ends, and then you got to come back out and go around another corner. So just to get that so it's all flowing as well.
Yep. I'll certainly take a look at that. Parking's a tough one, right? Because not knowing what the use of the site's going to be, we don't want to propose something that deters a future potential party who might be interested in the building if there's not adequate parking. So we don't want to limit, the market that we're trying to sell these buildings to by providing too few of parking. But at the same time, we want to find a balance of, being a good neighbor and protecting the environment and not overdoing the parking. So we're going to try to walk that line between the two, and certainly propose parking that meets the town requirements and meets the needs of what we think are going to be the future uses, and limits it to the greatest extent possible.
Because I heard, if I'm reading this right, the buildings are facing the center. They're not facing the road. They're not facing the Gorham bypass or South Street. They're facing the center of that parcel.
Phase 2 is.
Aren't those buildings facing inwards, so that the parking that I'm referring to that goes along the whole corridor there is actually behind the buildings, not in front of the buildings?
Hi, Gary Jordan. Thank you. No, that is not the intent. Exact opposite. So and this is where and I haven't dealt with the rear parking lot requirement much, but this is where this particular development gets a little bit weird, because you ask the question, what is my road frontage? What is the back of the building? What is the front of the building? Where is the back parking? Where is the front parking? I would defer to this board and Carol and Damon to help out with that. My intent would be that the front, most beautiful side, the architectural design side, would be the one facing the roundabout, not the rear of the building for truck access for drop off of supplies or something. That would be, I hope, silly. So no, the front of the building would be facing the bypass. The back lot would be for the back parking area for more residents and more long-term steady state parking is the current thought process that we're open-minded on.
Although, and again, just to connect it all, there's no access from the roundabout.
Today that is correct. I hope one day, but that is correct today.
Still looking at that, because makes it difficult. That, when you're driving, that's like the major corridor going in there, and yet if it's the back of the buildings,
Obviously, it's highly beneficial.
Parking in the back, it's kind of maybe something that we do need to look at how that's configured, because
I agree completely.
Mr. Walsh?
Interesting project. You kind of surprised me. So you say 8,500 square feet, but how many stories?
Currently
3 stories.
Ground floor commercial, 2 floors up above for residential.
And what is your vision on the residential?
Mostly 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Okay. So this is what surprised me, because when I looked at the layout, it's like, as with Barbara's comment, a lot of pavement. Just jumped off at me. And then when you said residential, I'm saying, wow.
So I can't speak for Austin perfectly on the totality of the reason for all the parking, but we really did just want to give an idea. Unfortunately, with the varying, if there was a daycare or if there's there's so many different things that could add it in.
No, I get that, but I just say if, when I was think of, you could have apartments or whether it be condo or whether it be rentals, you say, wow, what is there for residents in this little area?
I can tell you to that point about the parking. So the parking that's shown on here, what we assumed was the highest use, which is 1 parking space per 250 square feet of commercial use, and then 2 residential parking spots for each unit.
Okay.
So that's kind of the basis of what we assumed to get the parking that's on here. So this would kind of be worst case parking that would be required on this parcel.
But that could happen.
But it could.
Yeah.
Right. Not knowing what the uses are, it could.
Yeah. When projects come before us for residential, now we're looking for what's in it for the residents, and what amenities are there for residents. Great place to skateboard, maybe.
Thank you. Public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Let's get this out of the way, please.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone here that would like to speak against this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And if there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this project in a neutral position, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kathleen West. I live on 15 Washburn Drive. I'm an abutter to this property, and I am the previous owner of the property. And I have been talking with Gary, and a lot of the stuff we've gone over and talked about, and I feel very comfortable working with Gary on anything that might be concerning for me, where I have farm animals which will be abutting this property. I'm a little concerned about the width of Washburn Drive, which is not very wide. I don't know if any of you have driven down it. It's a pretty narrow road. No sidewalks or walking space off the road to speak of. There's a ditch on both sides. A really big, deep ditch on one side. My concerns basically are I have a lot of people that park on Washburn Drive and then walk because they're both dead ends. It's a very comfortable place for people to go walking. We do have the bus stop right at the corner of Straw Road and Washburn Drive. That's where the kids wait for the bus. 2 concerns that go with that for me is people come flying down the road. The speed limit is 35. There is no possible way you can drive 35 on that road unless you want to launch yourself off the bridge. So I am going to talk to Terry Deering about the potential of putting the speed limit down to 25 on that road, just because there are kids and people walking all the time. And also potentially putting a stop sign where Washburn Drive meets Straw Road, because again, that's where the kids wait for the bus, and the high school kids, it's still pretty dark in the winter when they're waiting for the bus down there. So those are my concerns. And people, most of the time, just fly through there. It makes me a little nervous. We've talked a little bit, Gary and I, about putting some shrubbery or something to block all the lighting that's going to be hitting my property, where I live, where my rental property is, where the next door neighbor lives, because when we cleared that lot, which was great because it was all scrub anyway, but now I get all the lights from the parking area and people coming down the bypass. So those are some of the things I'd like you guys to consider, as far as where their parking is going to be. Is that going to be going directly into where I live? All these cars parked there, is that going to be headlights in my direction? What else did I have here? Green space. If this is going to be a place where a lot of people live, I'm kind of concerned there's nowhere for their children to play other than potentially on my road or on my farm, which I don't want to happen. Horses are, what do they call, attractive nuisance. Children that don't have any place to play are going to be like, oh, let's go see the farm animals. And I don't want to have to pay to put up 6-foot chain link to keep them off of that, but I'm concerned that there's nowhere for them to use for outside areas, and I'm a huge advocate for children being outside as much as possible. So if there's something maybe we can do that way, I don't know, but that's just something I wanted to go on the record as stating, because that is a concern of mine, where I do have farm animals. And horses are, mine are pretty good, but they still, they have teeth. I guess that's it for me. I mean, sidewalks, if you guys are thinking that's something we need, but I'm hoping we don't have to go that route, but the road is very narrow. And the visibility of it, because it kind of goes flat and makes a little hump, goes down, makes another hump. There isn't a lot of far ahead visibility. The deer do cross there all the time because they come from that gully, and then they cross Washburn Drive, and I hear squealing tires occasionally from my neighbors just because we have to stop quick because of deer, and I would hate to lose the deer. I really enjoy them on my property. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
West.
very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Anyone else would like to speak neutrally to this project? I see no one rising. I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Members of the board, any last questions, comments? Mr. Walsh?
Well, all right, I guess I spoke enough, and I appreciate her comments, particularly on the parking and green space and all that good stuff. I'd also say any future drawings of this, if you could show 114 and the access off of 114 that gets into Washburn, it just helps to keep her in proportion in the way we analyze this thing. I guess we're asking for a master plan.
Not quite yet.
No, but what is the threshold, or what bar are we trying to achieve with the master plan? What depth are we going to at this point?
It should have the basic design in place.
Any major changes would have to come back to us.
Okay.
For master plan approval.
Yeah, that's up.
Yeah, I guess what I would say, when I look at this, I'm seeing a retail commercial development. I have a hard time seeing this as a residential area. I just look at it and what you've laid out is like, well, I certainly would not want to see this as a place, apartment complex, but it just doesn't seem to have much appeal.
I feel confident that so right now I'm working with Custom Concepts out of Scarborough for the design of the actual facility itself. I think you'll feel a lot more comfortable when you see the New England style building that's going to be presented for the first one. But I was under the assumption that wasn't required for the master plan, which was mostly just for the layout, conceptual, size, spacing, and all that good stuff. Okay. But trust me. I hope you trust me. I am a Gorham resident. I do want this to be good, presentable. I live right down the road myself, more up South Street. But the goal is to truly make something that actually looks really, really nice. It is going to be in a very optically visible place, and so to that end, it does need to look good. The goal there is to not create a parking lot feel, and I think that was the goal that Austin had on putting the parking lot in the back end. But once again, we're open for comments and feedback to whatever we feel as though would make it the most presentable.
I look forward to seeing the future plans.
Mr. Norton, I don't mean to bother you over there. Washburn Drive, is that a public road?
Yes.
So with the continuation, is that going to be a public road?
My opinion, good, I like how your head shakes.
I don't want opinions,
No, this would be a condominium drive, if you will, private road owned and operated by a homeowners association.
some covenants that
Yep.
somebody else is going to have to maintain. So it's going to,
Correct.
will it continue to be called Washburn Drive? I mean, it's the same asphalt.
Right. That was part of the discussion we had with Terry, was that he wanted more of a T intersection. So Washburn and this access would do more of a T rather than just an extension of the end of Washburn. So I think there's going to be some reconfiguration of that, which I think would push us in a different direction where it would potentially be a different named road.
I'm just curious. I don't want to belabor it. I'm good for that. I was just curious. Thank you. Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, I do want to come back to one point on the comment made about the school bus. It was a good one. If depending at full build out, if you have a number of apartments in there and there are school-age children, I think some concerns were raised about, would they walk down to the corner of Straw Road, or would there be enough room that a school bus could come up here and turn around? So just as you look at the plan, just think about incorporating that, and then would there be a busing waiting enclosure?
So we're gonna have to follow the fire standards as well. So a fire truck's gonna have to turn around. So I'm gonna assume that a school bus is gonna be fine as well. But absolutely, with that many units, even in phase one, we're gonna have to consider that.
Yeah,
So I
thank
agree.
you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Frank, please.
Thank you. The three phases, can you give us a rough timeline for the build-outs of each of these?
No earlier than 5 years per. I don't have the financial capacity to move faster than that. So the goal would be to get into phase one, develop it, stabilize it, get it up and running. Once it's up and running, I'm assuming that's going to take 24 months minimum after approval and starting construction. And then realistically 2 to 3 more years before starting the next one based on cash flow. So realistically 5-year minimum between phases.
That sounds about right. And for phase 3, I believe somewhere in the text you said you're probably going to need the public water and sewer.
So we specifically, sorry.
Let me finish my question. If you don't get that, will phase 3 not be built?
Correct. I believe that would be a town requirement at that point, was what we were hearing, is that we need water and sewer at that point. I mean, simply the size of the building would require it.
Fair enough. Thank you again. Oh, and on the road itself for phase 1, are you going to build the road just enough to serve phase 1 and then continue building the road for the next phases? Or are you going to try to do the whole road at once?
Just for phase 1.
Just for phase 1. Okay, and then the other thing I was thinking, when you do phase 2, you might want to think about connecting the upper end of the phase 2 building road, building parking lot to the road. Just a little bit of a thing there. Just that's the place. Yeah. Just a thought. That was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Anyone else? Moving along, we have suggested motions on page 12 of 12.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Please.
it might be blatantly obvious only to me, but it's very difficult to approve a master plan where they have to redesign the entire thing to meet the street standards and the block standards. Because it doesn't look anything like it would look like. This is supposed to be a master plan. So it has to look like what they intend to follow through with. And right now, it's a concept. It's a great concept plan for feedback, but in terms of a master plan, it doesn't meet the criteria yet.
Thank you.
And I don't want to, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, knowing that, master plan kind of ties us to kind of a layout moving forward, we want to make sure we get a layout that, we can make work. We'd like to get as much direction from you guys as we can this evening, and then we can kind of go back to the drawing board, come back with a layout that meets all these items that we've talked about and meets all these aspects of the ordinance that we need to meet. I think Carol's spot on. I think it makes sense to have a layout that is maybe a little bit more dialed in before we start taking action on it.
I hate to disagree with my engineer. Sorry, Andy. So my only counterpoint question would be, so we really felt as though, and I think you're going to feel it too, Phase 3 is just thrown in there. A whole bunch of extra parking is just thrown in there. That was deliberate and intentional because we didn't want to mislead the town. We want to show you that we have an intention to build a third thing, but we're talking 15 years out, and I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know what it's going to look like. This is going to have amendments, significant probably by the time we get to year 15. And to include deleting Phase 3 if water never comes. There's so many permutations that come into play here that we wanted to present it in full transparency, but at the same time, what do we do with that to say that we're going to build something, but we don't know what it's going to be? And that's the complexity that is the master plan with such a, for me, such a large project. I don't know how to represent that to the town accurately while fully disclosing, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh,
I'm ready for a motion.
to postpone? Sure, go ahead, please.
Move to postpone further review of Gary and Robert Jordan master site plan approval for a mixed-use development located on map 22, lot 7, pending responses to remaining issues.
Is there a second, please?
I will second that.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Any other questions, any misunderstandings? It's too bad to see it was even presented this evening, sadly. Well, no, we started out at 8 PM, half an hour, okay. Colonel, please.
As far as discussion goes, if the plan was presented without the Phase 3 to be determined, would that have been enough? Does the Phase 3 complicate things? Is it appropriate for someone to say, well, here's our master plan, we know what we're going to do in Phase 1, and then here's our dotted line and all this other space to be developed later? Is that an acceptable condition for a master plan?
Essentially, you want to guess at what you're doing in the third phase. Even if you put Phase 3 commercial building or mixed-use building and parking in that space, it has to meet the ordinance anyway. So wherever you put those things, it must meet the ordinance,
Right.
even if you don't know what's specifically going to be in there.
Yeah, if I may add, I would suggest not approving something that doesn't meet the ordinances, generally speaking.
Jim on the shoulder.
Mr. Frank?
To Carol's point, if there was no Phase 3, just Phase 1 or Phase 2, would a master plan be required? It would.
It's required in this zoning district.
That's the zoning. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what, I like seeing the concept, even if it's 15 years out. You understand a master plan of 15 years is going to change. I mean, to Mr. Jordan's point, they put something in there. When we looked at the golf course development, and there was a 18, 20-year build-out or more, does anyone here really realistically think they're going to stick to that exact plan? No, but they presented something that we could all look at. It met the ordinance. And I guess that's all we're asking here is when they go back and revise, and I do believe it has to be revised, to meet the ordinance, but understand that, that Phase 3 is probably done with gray ink and not black ink. I'm very comfortable with that, and I appreciate seeing it.
I have a comment.
Please, Ms. Nichols.
So I like seeing the whole layout, but I'm now wondering if we don't have some sort of guidelines for the residential part of the plan. Like, should there be, can we give some guidance if you're going to have people living there that we should really be considering some green space or some of those things? Is there guidance in the ordinance that we can lead them to, or is it just opinions?
Well, there are some guidelines in the ordinances. However, there are standards for multifamily dwellings that need to be edited to include the zoning district, which don't currently include it. So we can't point to those standards specifically. However, there are recreational and open space standards within subdivision review and site plan, where there's some leeway for that, but not to the extent there is in the multifamily apartment standards. And that is something that I believe is going to be brought forward to include the zoning district as well. But the zoning district was created after those standards were adopted, so that they need to go back and be amended.
That makes sense, because if we're going to have more mixed use and more residential mixed in with commercial, those considerations will need to be out there.
No.
Okay, thank you.
And if you look at the master plan for the golf course, which is, has a lot of similarities. They show the buildings, mixed-use buildings, but they also show the number of units that they're thinking and proposing. And, that would be a nice to have in this master plan, have those number of units, because then that drives the discussion on parking. And, a nice table. Again, I found the master plan layout for the golf course to be easy to understand. And
May I address the board? I guess from my perspective, the biggest challenge is just understanding what's actually required for the true master site plan versus the preliminary plan. A lot of those, because you guys have seen me before, I've done 2 preliminary plans. A lot of those, 100% those things are all required at different stages along this development. And I feel as though perhaps maybe the other developments have set a very high bar, and that's great. From my perspective, I just didn't know what was truly required on that fundamental outline plan. And I guess my biggest question for feedback on when we go back to this is, and it sounded like there is a preference for the comprehensive plan, but because I truly don't know even if Phase 2 will ever occur or if Phase 3 will ever occur, should I just put in Phase 1 and submit that as the master plan and submit amendments as I go? And I don't feel as though that's genuine, but I do feel as though it's a valid question because that's all I can project today.
Look to the planning department. We have 12 pages of comments that were
Understood.
submitted to the planning board, so I'm equally,
I will talk to the staff later. Thank you.
sure, thank you. We had a motion and a second, please. Any other discussion? This is a motion to postpone. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Per our earlier vote and discussion, we are now segueing to the discussion portion of the agenda. This is going to be item 8. Item 8 is a discussion, a sign waiver. Big Moose Harley Davidson, a request by the operator of the business for a 50% increase in the size of a building-mounted sign in accordance with provisions of the Land Use Code, located at 673 Main Street on map 12, lot 27, in the roadside commercial zone. The applicant is represented by Tim Schneider with Sage Stone Consulting. Look to planning to introduce us, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So what this is a business that is looking to open soon, I believe, in the town at 673 Main Street. They're looking to install a sign that is larger than what is required. The ordinances do allow the planning board to issue a waiver to allow up to 50% increase in the sign size. What they're proposing is 19%. So it appears to meet the ordinance requirements. And we had no additional comments other than that. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Snyder.
Good evening.
Fire away, what do you got?
Yeah, pretty well stated by Damon. We initially, upon review of the ordinance, assumed that our the frontage that wasn't close to Main Street, it still faces Main Street, but it's set back, would be included in the calculations, which put us at about 215 square feet. So we assume that we could meet, or we would be allowed the maximum 200 square feet of signage on the facade. Obviously, through the permit application, learned we weren't. And due to that, we're here asking if we could increase the allowable by that 19% to achieve the ratio we're looking to achieve with the Harley-Davidson logo on the wall. It would be, we're allowed up to 2 signs, I believe, per the ordinance on the facade, and this would be just the second sign. So it's not any additional numbers of signs. The sign is also fairly minimal. There's a lot of negative space. It's a thin bar and shield without any verbiage or words or anything to that effect. So, yeah, that's our request.
Thank you. Any members, any questions from the board, please? Okay. Mr. Frank?
On the very bottom of page 2 of our handout, Mr. Jensen, our Director of Economic Development, I think summed it up very well. You're revitalizing a highly visible property in an important commercial gateway. The request for additional signage space is suitable and fits within the entire signage plan.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, I'm good. I just have a question for the staff on the setback and why that's not included in the frontage, the square footage, just for reference.
If I may. I was party to the review of this when they submitted the permit. The code officer and I did the review and sort of conferred with each other on interpretation of the ordinance. So the frontage is the front wall of the building. And in the description and the ordinance requirement, you calculate the allowable square footage of signage based on the distance or the length of the wall. That is the most prominent wall, and that was our interpretation. The wall that they included in their calculation, in addition to the most prominent wall, was set back, it's set back probably 60 feet roughly. So our determination was that it was not prominent.
Okay.
And so they decided to come here and ask for your review and approval.
Carol, can I ask a question of you? So I've been watching the building go up and change, and the front of the building, there's the facade is here, and I'm going to guess numbers. You've got like about a 25-foot lobby. Then the building goes back maybe, I don't know, 5 feet, and then there's this whole big wall. And you're only counting the 25 feet?
No.
You're counting that whole big wall?
We're counting the entire big wall, and then, as you're looking at the front of the building, on the right-hand side, there's an addition that sits back about 60, 65 feet. And so they were including that entire length.
I see.
And in the reading of the ordinance and professional determinations across the country, that makes a difference in what you add into a wall length.
Yeah, I thought it was just that
So-
small difference. I didn't realize that they were going back.
Warehouse, yeah.
Another
They did include
step.
that.
Now I
The ordinance
understand.
says the primary front facade should be considered, which, to Carol's point, this would be considered
Thank
the
you.
primary, would be the piece that's closest to Main Street. So
Sure, yeah, move to approve Big Moose Harley Davidson request for a sign square footage increase request for map 12, lot 27, in the roadside commercial district based on findings of fact and conditions of approval as written by the town planner.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any other discussion? We heard there's a rumor that you're opening Friday.
yes, sir.
Is that the plan?
Yes, sir.
Everyone from the planning board invited?
It will be chaotic, but everybody's invited.
Get a ride on bike? All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Will coffee and donuts be provided?
Anyone?
If you're coming, we'll have them there.
No one's opposed. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice
Thank you,
rework.
board.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Teaching school on Friday. That's all right, I'll shut up later. Take a break? We want to take a break? How are people doing?
2 minutes? We got to grab Andy anyway.
Okay.
We have to get Andy out of the way.
Ben Dyke, please, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is right after the recess we just took. It is Monday evening, January 5th, 2026. This is a regular meeting of the Gorham Planning Board. We voted earlier to take things out of order. Right now on the agenda, we're looking at item 9, a discussion. Pre-application sketch plan review, Eastern Drive. A proposal to construct 9 contractor tradesman units in 2 buildings with a paved parking lot and associated infrastructure located in the industrial zoning district on map 12, lot 23-5. The applicant is represented by Andy Morrill. I look to planning to open this, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The comprehensive plan in this case recommends the industrial zoning that is in existence here. So it's consistent with that. The key ordinance considerations in this case are the site plan standards, which you all know well. Utilities, landscaping, lighting, that sort of thing. Parking requires 17 parking spaces, but they are proposing 65. They'll also need to add in some landscaping islands and screening, and there are some other requirements to look at in terms of the parking lots. There's an internal pedestrian circulation needed. This is in that pedestrian overlay, so pedestrian facilities are required to and within, and so in this case, the industrial park does not have any pedestrian facility in this area, so maybe you're inclined to grant a waiver in that case and do the fee in lieu. Public water and sewer connections are planned, and the details pending. It is within the MS4 district, and so they would need to provide that reporting yearly. It's something that Andy is aware of, I know. We also encourage low-impact development design in our MS4 area, something we mention for each one of the site plans that we review. There is a master sign plan required to be submitted because this is a multi-unit commercial. So that plan needs to be reviewed by you under the site plan review. So we would look for them to submit that additional application and plan so you can review it. The lighting is part of the review as well, and it's required to be full cutoff. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Morrow. Long time no see.
Yes, long time. Good evening, Andy Morrill. Also with me is Josh Doucette, the applicant. I will be brief again. The applicant owns lot F1, which is about 2.39 acres in the industrial park off Eastern Drive. Applicant is in the process of buying a 100-foot wide parcel from lot D, which is just to the south of this project, owned by Southern Maine Specialties, Inc. That's another 0.68 acres. That's what's going to accommodate this development. Looking to construct 9 contractor tradesman units. We'd like to try to find a way to fit a 10th unit on there, but right now we've got 9 on there. We're kind of limited by the front setback off of Eastern Drive on that southern end. So right now we've got 9 units shown on there, ranging in size from 1,600 square feet to 2,000 square feet in size, kind of alternating. Public sewer, public water, underground electric, all be coming from Eastern Drive. There'll be a slight extension of Eastern Drive, approximately 175 feet. Right now, that's a private road built to the public road standards. We have 2 accesses off of Eastern Drive. Right now, there's no turnaround at the end of Eastern Drive, so we're kind of proposing 2 points of access to kind of allow kind of a looped end of the road. We're showing, if you look at the building plans we submitted, each unit has a large overhead garage door. What we're trying to do is allow vehicle access right up to the building to be able to either go into the building as a traditional garage or pull a vehicle up to load up some material or something that they're storing in their unit. So it's kind of a unique layout. We've got kind of an office entrance on one side of each unit and then kind of an overhead door on the other side of the unit. We did meet with staff, and there was some really good discussion about this project. Some items we talked about was Public Works really wanted some kind of turnaround at the end of Eastern Drive. We talked about whether this could be accommodated with an access easement on our parcel at one of the intersection points. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably what we're going to move forward with, but when we come forward with our design, I'll have that all spelled out on there for you. We talked about the parking. As Carol mentioned, there's a lot of parking shown here. 65 parking spaces is what I've shown. Basically, what I did with this layout is I put the two buildings on there, and then I maximized everything else in the middle. Not knowing what's going to be in these units, we really didn't want to try to limit ourselves. Some of the things we talked about doing was making some of these parking spaces in the interior of the parking lot, like a pull-through truck and trailer parking spot. I think there's going to be a lot of that happening on this site. A lot of plumbers will pull up with their truck and the trailer with all the piping on the rear of the, on the trailer, and they can use these parking spaces. I think doing some striping in the middle of the parking lot as well to potentially stripe off some of that, provide easier access to some of these units. I think that's another item we talked about with some department heads, and I think those all make a lot of sense, and I think those are things the applicant's willing to look at as we move forward. There's certainly some requirements on parking lot size and portions of the parking lot that need to be landscaped. We'll certainly look at that moving forward, make sure we meet that portion of the ordinance. We also talked about sidewalk connections. We talked about adding an internal sidewalk that would connect the southern buildings over to Eastern Drive. I think that makes a lot of sense. We'll certainly add that moving forward. Off-site sidewalk, there's none in the area. I know we did talk about the Crosstown Trail and whether that in the future at some point could add a sidewalk along through the industrial park. I'm not sure where that all goes, but that could be something that happens at some point in the future. But for now, there's really no sidewalk in the area. We're thinking the project will probably be phased during construction. One side, the top side of the buildings of the site may get built the first, and then the other side as the second phase. Town comments. Landscape islands will be needed to break up the parking lot. We totally agree. We'll certainly address that moving forward. Landscaping, buffering, and site lighting will be sure to provide photometric plans. I always say this, I think the sketch plan phase of a project is the most important phase of a project. It allows us to informally have a discussion with you guys and talk about the things we like or dislike about the project. So I really encourage you to, if you have some comments, to share them with us. It can certainly help us as we move into the design phase. So we're here tonight to get your input and answer any questions you have. So Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy, drawings A1 and A2?
Yes.
Elevations and plans?
Yes.
So on sheet 1, you got items, buildings 1 through 5. On sheet 2, you only have 6, 7, and 8. You left off a building.
Yeah, when we originally did the building plans, we had 8 units, and then we modified it to get the 9th unit. So I have revised plans, I just didn't resubmit them to you guys.
Okay, it seemed kind of short.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep, nope, that'll be addressed moving forward.
No problems whatsoever. Members of the board, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick questions. Good-looking project. And so I just want to make sure I understand it right. So is this contractors, the parking would be for employees and and the contractor business vehicles?
Exactly.
Would there be any on-site, would you be using the parking lot for any storage of any materials? Like you mentioned, like pipes. Would you envision like a pipe rack or something?
No.
All right.
Nope.
And do you envision that any customers of these contractors would be coming to this site? Would there be any aspect of retail, showroom, anything like that?
At this time, I say no. I have been in discussions with a couple companies, small companies, doing like truck caps, stuff like that. They might have like a small showroom in the front.
I'm sorry, point of order, would you please introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Josh Doucette. So yeah, at this point, I'm not anticipating retail or show front retail, but
But
in a small capacity.
But you could have like a service company, in other words, you say if you were installing truck caps, you'd have to have something to show.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so there could be. Okay.
To address the outside storage, that was one thing I didn't want to do, so I don't want to have outside storage, just the clutter and everything, so.
Good. That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else for Mr. Morrow or Mr. Doucette? This is a discussion item. Anything else?
I just have one question. I see that you have handicap parking in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah.
It's not required to be, I mean, I know you have 9 businesses, and who knows which business they're going to.
Well, that was.
I always thought it was required to be.
That was the hard part, right? I toyed with that for a while, right? We're required to have, based on the number of parking spaces we're required to have 4 handicap parking spots. Do I choose 4 of the 9 units and put a handicap spot really close to it? Or do I put them in the middle where they could be used for all the units? I chose to put it in the middle. If the board felt strongly it made more sense, a different configuration, we'd be happy to do that. Now that I'm standing here, my gut says it probably makes more sense to put them closer to the units, even though some of the units won't have a handicap spot close to them.
Yeah, I don't know, 'cause if you're on, well, maybe it does, I don't know.
Is that not something, a detail that can be painted upon occupancy?
Yes.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we need 4.
Yes.
We've shown 4, but final location,
And the parking lot's going to be striped on a, semi-annual basis anyway. If there's something that needs to be changed out there to accommodate more handicap, or one use is needing more handicap, that can be accommodated as they, restripe the parking lot.
Mr. Frank?
Yeah, but Andy, I know this is your first stab at it, but it doesn't make sense to me to cluster all 4 of them so close together.
Yep.
I mean, put 2 of them down near the left-hand semicircle there or something.
Okay. I think that makes sense.
Were you coughing because you wanted my attention? Nope. Okay. Anyone else? Going twice? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we're moving on to item 10, a discussion, 201 Dingley Springs Road, private way, Michael Stack. Proposal to construct a 1,050-foot, 2 to 6 lot gravel private way to access 4 new buildable lots. Located at 201 Dingley Springs Road, map 76, lot 3, in the suburban residential zoning district. The applicant is represented by Peter D'Alfonso with D'Alfonso Engineering. Would someone from planning like to introduce us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is the second time this has been before the board. It was before the board for its sketch review at the June 2025 meeting, where there were some staff and planning board comments. Applicants have included those comments in their submittal that's before you this evening. So they've addressed many of those issues, a few remaining issues that we've identified. So one thing that's missing is a draft maintenance agreement. However, that is something that could be reviewed as a condition of approval, if the board granted approval this evening, before the applicant were able to record their plan. There's a snowmobile trail on the rear of the parcel. We do recommend that the applicants discuss whether that trail will be relocated or retained, and if it's going to be retained, it should be included in the plan. One thing to note is that the applicant is looking to create a total of 5 lots. Normally, 3 lots or more would trigger subdivision review. However, there are exemptions to subdivision in state law, and the applicants are looking to use several of those here. One is the homestead exemption, which allows homeowners who have lived in a single family for 5 years or more can divide an additional lot. And additionally, if lots are to be gifted to family members, they're exempt as well. 2 of these lots are proposed to be gifted to family members. So therefore, based on that, the subdivision threshold would not be triggered. That is something we do recommend that be included in plan notes to be clear that the planning board is not approving the subdivision if they were to sign this plan and have it be recorded. One thing to note, Lot 2 as shown on the plan is smaller than the minimum lot size allowed in the zone. We do recommend that the applicants do not create a lot smaller than the minimum lot size. So we recommend that the lot be adjusted to be 60,000 square feet. It does appear that the adjacent lot is larger in size, and that the applicants may be able to swap approximately 3,000 square footage from one to the other in order to make the both of them allow both of them to be conforming. There are some other staff and peer review comments that need to be addressed, and with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Delphonse.
Good evening. I'm Peter Delfonso. I'm a civil engineer. With me tonight is the client, Michael Stack, and his wife, Holly. They live in the existing building on the site. It's a pretty simple project. It's a 1,030-foot long private way. There was a little confusion on the length because in one spot I had it as 1,050, and the actual road to be constructed is 1,030. I just read the station on the end of the road when I wrote the letter, so that's how that happened. We are planning on building the road so they can access 5 lots. The intention is that they have 2 daughters who want to keep living near them, I guess, so they're going to give a lot to each of them and then most likely run and hide in the back of the lot and build out there for themselves, and then down the road, sell off the other 2 lots. So it doesn't, because of that, at this time, it doesn't meet the requirements for a subdivision. The maintenance agreement, I did include the town's sample in there. The intent is to get that filled out and modified as necessary and get that in with a follow-up submittal. You mentioned the snowmobile trail. At this time, it looks like the snowmobile trail is not going to be continued on their property. They have had discussions with the snow goers, I believe is the name, and they're both having big issues with ATVs screaming through there and tearing up the wetland, and they are not going to pursue having that go through there any. We're not sure what the snowmobile club is going to do. I assume they're going to move it up most likely towards Randall's land and go across the top. I reviewed the memo. Didn't have time to really get a submittal together and get it into you, but we don't see anything in this that is really overly difficult to comply with. That the issue with Lot 2 is we had an issue with getting the LiDAR topo on the plan and getting Dingley Spring Road. I corrected that. I've lived out there for 35 years, and I've always called it Dingley Springs Road. So I lived just before that. No, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Lot 2.
Oh, yeah, Lot 2. We moved the road to get it out of the wetland, and we kept the 200-foot frontage for the next lot, but that pushed that line back a little bit, and that's how that ended up like that. But we will correct that. There is plenty of acreage there to make those two lots comply. So with the memo, I've been through the whole thing. There's not a lot there. Couple items on the stormwater that that we will address and correct. There's a elevation that was wrong, and we may have to do a test pit for the infiltration, the two infiltration basins. I guess with that, I'd like to hear from you, and we're hoping that we can get this project moving forward. We've been looking at it for quite a while, but we're finally at the point where we'd like to get it approved and built.
Thank you, Mr. Delfonso. Is members of the board?
Ladies.
Ms. Nichols, please.
So I see that there are 5 lots, and then but Lot 5 is separated by a wetland. There's no way of getting to it.
There's, to access that lot, there is buildable area at the rear of the lot, and they would need an NRPA permit to build a driveway long enough to get out there.
Oh, so that lot, got it. All right, so basically though, how do you deal with a lot like that? If you create a lot like that,
Well, it's a buildable lot. They would have to get permits from Army Corps for the wetlands
To go
impacts.
through the
and,
wetland?
That's something that the code enforcement I believe would have to review, because this is not a subdivision, so therefore it's not something that's subject to planning board review at this time. They're not proposing to actually build that right now. It's something that would be required if they were to, say, get a building permit, try to get a building permit to build on that lot, though.
okay, so just split the entire parcel into 5 pieces. I understand 2 daughters are each given 2 lots?
Oh, 1 lot.
Each given 1 lot.
Right.
And then the other,
They have the existing dwelling.
which is Lot 1, and then they're going to sell off the other 2.
They may sell those 2, or they may build out back on Lot 5 and sell the existing house.
Okay.
Mr. Frank, did you have a question?
Yes, not really a question. Very commendable thing you're doing, folks, and I'm liking what I see. Good for you.
Mr. Walsh?
Ready for a motion? It's a move to grant Michael Stack's request for approval of a 1,050-foot private drive off Dingley Springs Road, designed to town's 2-6 lot dwelling unit, gravel private way standard, located on map 76, lot 3, and situated in the suburban residential zoning district, based on findings of facts with conditions of approval as written by town planner.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second?
Mr. Frank, second.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other questions or concerns? Any comments? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
All set, thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, we are looking at item 11, please. Item 11, discussion, land use and development amendment. ADUs, proposed amendment to the land use and development code to allow additional driveway curb cuts to access accessory dwelling units on low-traffic roads if certain conditions are met. Look to planning, please, to introduce this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Town Council recommended this to the Planning Board back in November for changes to the town standards for driveways with the objective of providing additional flexibility for access to accessory dwelling units if certain standards are met. Those changes to Chapter 300, Part 2 of the General Standards are listed on pages 2 and 3 of this document. And this one is up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Mr. Walsh?
Just one question. On page 3, item H. Chuck, could you explain, it says spacing between curb cuts should maintain a uniform distance between adjacent lot entrances. So what is a uniform, and how do you determine that?
So it's purposefully vague. So if you can imagine.
Good job.
It's the way I like it. So if you can imagine in a neighborhood where a lot may be adding an ADU and requesting an additional curb cut for their entrance, we wanted to give the authority some flexibility on where we request that curb cut happen, so we don't necessarily end up with back-to-back-to-back driveway entrances. So if left.
Sorry, I think there may be a.
Could you answer the phone, please?
Sure. Mr. Walsh, you can adjust your microphone.
Sorry about that.
Wasn't me.
Sure.
So to continue on.
Public is complaining.
Yeah.
So our ratings.
Yeah, right. So how come it's when I start talking?
Yeah.
So the idea being that two adjacent parcels, potentially with driveways located in close proximity to one another, we don't try to force in a third driveway in between those two. So in general, we would look for the Public Works Director or their designee to review these and determine that they're adequately spaced apart.
Great. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say generally, I mean, I know we're going to take this to either further workshop or public hearing, and I'd be happy to hear. I hope we get some public comment. I think I guess I would be more inclined to have this as maybe a waiver process or something we could vote on as opposed to just an application. I'm not personally, unless I hear something more. I mean, an accessory dwelling unit is supposed to be like not a separate, like a whole new permanent residence, right? It's called an accessory dwelling unit. And so now we're gonna create new driveways every time there's an accessory dwelling unit that's created, or that's the potential? That just seems like we're now having potentially two driveways on every lot, which seems to go against everything, the reason we have these standards in the first place. And we don't allow houses to have two curb cuts and two entrances into a house for a reason. And now we're going to say, oh, well, yep, now we're going to change, and we're going to say, yes, everybody can. I don't understand I understand why people would want it, but I don't understand how that possibly meets the intent that the town has been working off of with their codes and master plans, et cetera, for as long as we've had codes and master plans. So whenever the code limited a dwelling from having two curb cuts or two accesses, you can't have those rounded driveways anymore because you have two curb cuts. We did away with those. So I don't understand why we're going to throw away those codes and adopt something new. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think we threw away some codes when we allowed ADUs to be developed. We had to make compromises.
Right, well, that was the state stepped in on that, but it doesn't mean that we have to change our roads, the same question we're having with the driveway standards, private driveway standards on ADUs. Like, just because it's an ADU doesn't mean we have to change all of our other standards. They were put in place for a reason. And great, have an ADU, but you got to meet the town standards if you're going to have that ADU. At least that's how I look at it.
I think those are very well founded, and just to give a little bit of context with it, that's exactly the discussion we were having when we were coming up with some of these recommendations. And so we tried to address that in the sense of not necessarily giving a carte blanche allocation for these second curb cuts by giving some guardrails, so to speak, is to say you have to have a certain road frontage to be able to do these things. You can't have minimum road frontage.
Right. And we talk about curb cuts when commercial businesses go in at different roads around the town, and now we're potentially doubling the number of curb cuts we have around the town because every place can have an ADU.
Right.
I know that they all wouldn't meet this standard, but I'm just like, that seems like a pretty big change to how we look at curb cuts. And if I was a business and said, well, if you're going to give an extra curb cut, why can't I have an extra curb cut? I don't know. It seems like we have the standards, and I don't understand the need for the change.
Well, okay. So let me ask a question. With everything coming at us as far as ADUs, and again, I think at some point I hope we can have, ADU 101, because it is getting more confounding. With all the state regulations, are they going to require that we allow a driveway or, in essence, a curb cut for an ADU?
At this point, there's no requirement for that to override local zoning.
No one's been complaining to the legislators yet don't forget this.
Yeah, but if, the way it's looking, an ADU can be condoized, an ADU can be, totally separate ownership through a condominialization, as I understand it. So now the expectation would be that someone would be able to have a parking space. I think there will be pressure for this.
Maybe there will be.
Yeah, Bill, I'm not wild about it, but I mean,
there will be.
if we have to do it, I think they've laid out some good stuff here.
Sure, I've got to say throw it away.
Yeah, but I honestly didn't know that we could back up and say no to it.
Especially in the areas that allow no on-street parking.
Yes. Well, think about this. Winter.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't matter.
November 1st to May 1st,
Yeah,
give or take, something
you
like
can't
that.
park on the street anyway.
I think it's October 15 to.
No, it's November 1.
Is it November 1?
November
Okay.
1, yeah. you can't park on the street anyway. They say you have to have a wider shoulder or something.
Right, or you park on the, it's an ADU, it's part of that lot. It's not a separate lot with a separate, it's an ADU. It's part of it belongs to, it's an accessory dwelling, accessory to the main dwelling.
But it could be
So
300 feet off the lane.
It might be,
Might be.
yeah.
But
They
it
have
also,
a way to get there.
yeah.
That's up to the people who built, that put it in to figure out how they're gonna access it. Or they can put a request in for a private drive,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess. Like, that would be the other way to do it, just put a request in for a private drive and go through that process. Or cut out a lot off your property and make it a separate lot. But that's the process we have currently. An ADU is an accessory to the primary dwelling. It's not its own
Well, the way,
separate dwelling.
but the
it's
way,
separate
the
lot,
way it's
separate-
evolving with state law, they will be, in essence,
Well,
a
well,
separate
we'll see.
dwelling unit.
We'll see.
At least we get housing.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And maybe it is for a couple of years, and then maybe they say, oh, doesn't make any sense. Why did we do this?
Yeah.
Let's change it back. Who knows?
So is this language developed at the request of the council?
Correct.
Yeah, so let's take it to a public hearing and continue to talk about it. And
Yeah.
The second or?
I don't see any point in taking it to, like, ordinance workshop, because we'll just have this debate right now, it's just you and I. So, and I'm in agreement with you.
I'm not saying you're wrong either.
Well, no, I didn't know if we could back up, because I would love to, but if we can't, then this is pretty good language.
Sure.
All right, so moving along,
Yep.
Public hearing,
page 3,
yeah. Go for it, Bill.
take your pick.
Mr. Chair, I move to send this proposal amendment to the next available planning board meeting for a public hearing.
Is there a second, please? Mr. Walsh?
Second.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other debate, questions, comments?
Wait.
Mr. Norton for making that vague. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Board, could we please take up item number 7 to make sure it gets done this evening?
Number 7, yes.
By consensus, is that, we want to vote on that? We're just going to
Go for it.
to item 7.
Any objection?
If I may, this is a definition amendment to change the number of sleeping rooms within the definition of inn.
Colonel?
Yeah, so, all right, well, maybe I'm confused. What? Are you asking for a recommendation? Because it says the current definition for an inn is 10 to 25 rooms. Under this revision, the allowable number of rooms would be reduced to under 1 room. So that means you don't have to have any rooms.
Having a
It's less than
maximum
one
of
room.
25.
With the maximum 25, but you can have 0. Under 1 is 0.
Well,
That doesn't seem to make very much sense to me.
It is confusing.
And now you're going to say that you can have public dining up to 7 days a week. So you can have 1 bedroom, as long as you let out 1 bedroom, you can open up a restaurant and call yourself an inn. And be open for business with a restaurant 7 days a week.
Well, it could be under 1. You could have
Under 1, 0.
rooms.
Technically, you could have 0.
You could have 0.
But even if you, I'm being, I don't
no,
think that
no,
was
no.
the intent, but
You-
that's what it says.
Sleep on a couch?
Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah.
But have a full-time restaurant in your house and say, I'm an inn, I'm opening up a restaurant, but you're not really an inn, but you wanted to have a restaurant.
the only places that allow an inn are specific zoning districts, so you couldn't do it everywhere,
Okay,
just so you know.
okay.
But you
But
could
why
do it, but you
one?
could do it.
But why one?
But that's not the
Why under
definition,
one?
that's the overview. The overview is a little
So what's the definition?
confusing. The definition is below. So
That's,
what,
that's the recommended, that's not the current.
that is the recommended change within it. Strike out between 10 sleeping rooms
Having a maximum.
and just having a maximum of 25 sleeping rooms.
Period. There's
So-
no minimum number, just a maximum
maximum.
of 25.
Correct. Anything over that is a hotel.
So again, that allows anyone to have an inn, if you did that, with 0 rooms, and it would just essentially be a restaurant.
It wouldn't be
Take it
an
out.
inn then, because you wouldn't have any sleeping rooms.
But you don't have to, according to this
We can add in
definition.
the number 1.
Yeah, I would like to add in more than 1, but I would
Why did
rather
we
2 or
change it?
3.
Why is 10 to 25 not an appropriate?
I can see how 10 might be too many.
Yeah.
You could have an inn with 5 rooms or 8
Okay,
rooms or.
5.
We're generally not consistent with the rest of the country on the definitions that we have anyway. So this fixes that situation. But we also have a property in town that is trying to move forward in its capacity. And our definition is messing that up.
Okay.
It's making it more complicated than it needs to be. So we're trying to, come into the 21st century, if you will, with some of our definitions. But then also make it more possible to do things.
And then we move on to the dining piece. So you have an inn with up to 25 rooms, maximum of 25, and then you're dining 7 days a week, public dining.
Yes.
But of course, that dining facility is going to be under the scrutiny of any dining facility. I mean, they're going to have hoods and all that stuff, right? 'Cause
Yes.
that was an issue that we had in
Which is
town.
state law. They have to comply with state
Okay.
law for all those things. Yes.
Right.
We also have performance standards for public dining
Yeah.
as part of an inn or bed and breakfast.
So they've got to meet all that. It's just, this is saying an inn will serve meals 7 days a week, have maximum of 25 rooms, kind of simplifying it.
One thing that may help too is the performance standards do require that the number of seats in the dining be proportional to the number of rooms. So I believe it's 5 seats per room. So if they had 0 rooms, they could have dining with 0 seats, I suppose it would be takeout.
Anyway.
Oh, so then it should say that in conjunction with the performance
not allowed.
standards.
But no drive-through windows.
And maybe that's implied,
I think it's implied, but
but somebody reading
somebody
this
could
like me.
find a
that's-
loophole if it's 0, so perhaps 1 is a good idea.
Well, let's kick this public hearing off, if you don't mind. Yeah. So if there is anyone that wants to speak in favor of this,
Oh, it's a public hearing, I'm sorry.
my job, public hearing, anyone wants to speak in favor of this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. There's no one even here. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who wants to speak, anyone,
There's 2 people.
no disrespect, you want to come up? Okay. Anyone want to speak against this project, please? Approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And finally, if anyone is neutral about this project, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. I see no one rising, the public hearing is closed.
Got through that.
All right.
All right, so how much longer can we beat this thing on?
Just one quick question. Carol, you said we're out of line with the norm for definition. Is adding a minimum of 1 room, would that keep us out of line with the,
No, it would not.
all right.
What if we had 2 rooms?
No.
Well, I think, to Bill's point, I think having at least a minimum of 1, just to get that across, that you can't have an inn with 0 rooms, but a full-time restaurant.
So what would happen is, if you make a motion to send this on to the town council for their public hearing, you could ask for that amendment when it moves to the town council.
Okay, well, I'm going to make the motion then,
Go for it.
because I'm going to amend it the way I want it amended.
Your job.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I move to send the proposed amendment to Chapter 300, Part 1 zoning regulations, Section 1.29 terms defined to the next available town council meeting for a public hearing with a recommendation for adoption as amended to say between 2 and a maximum of 25 sleeping rooms.
Thank you, Colonel. Is there a second?
Second, Dave Walsh.
Mr. Walsh, everyone understand that? Did you get that? It's recorded anyways. Okay, okay. Any other confusion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have three more items, and we don't have to wait till 10 o'clock to get it done. Item number 4, please, is a public hearing, a butter notices standardization. Proposed amendment to the Land Use and Development Code to establish all abutter notification requirements for projects before the planning board to 500 feet from parcel boundaries except when required otherwise by state law. Someone from planning, please introduce this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You have talked about this and talked about this. We had a workshop 2 years ago on this. That is to standardize all of our notifications except where it's different, where state law tells us we have to do something different. Put 500 feet from the subject parcel for abutters to be notified, rather than having abutters to abutters and 250 and 75, and we've got a couple of different ones. And this standardizes them across the board.
Did it?
Yes, sir, sorry.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it fell asleep or not.
Pardon me.
Okay. Colonel?
For the staff, this has been a public hearing before? I feel like we've had a public hearing on this once before.
There was a discussion of it, but not a public hearing.
Okay. All right.
Just for talking purposes, one of the members of the community had pointed out to me that another community, Saco, actually publishes or prints on signage when there's going to be a notification, about notifications, in addition to whatever else they do. It doesn't look like there's a public hearing here, but according to that photo that this resident took, they do have some kind of other notification. I just wanted to throw that out there. He thought it would be worthy of us to do it, and I said, just because Saco does it doesn't mean. I think, in my experience here, that we do more than an adequate job of notification, notifying the public about everything, across the board. It's also my experience that people only pay attention when it affects them directly, and other things get ignored. But I think personally, through my experience here in the town, that the town does an excellent job trying to notify people of everything that's going on legally within the town confines.
Yeah.
That's my editorial.
Well, I think this is a great upgrade. I do, and we kicked it around quite a bit, and you provided great examples, so I think this is a really nice change. But was there any opinion expressed by the town council as to this when they sent it back to us for, because I know it was on their agenda last month, right? And was there any comments, or did they just send it our way?
No, I don't believe there were any
Okay.
comments other than they're in favor of improved notifications, I believe.
Good, all right.
And it looks like it's got to go back for the town council to adopt it.
Yeah,
So we're
right.
just
We have to have a public hearing, so this is a public hearing.
Public hearing, right?
do that and send it.
All right, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing about a notices standardization. If there is anyone that would like to speak in favor of this, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone that wants to speak against this proposal, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And finally, if there is anyone in the audience that wants to approach the podium and speak about the project, neither negatively or positively, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. I see no one rising, so I will close this public hearing. Members of the board, Colonel, please.
I move to send the proposed amendment to the next available town council meeting for public hearing with a recommendation for adoption.
Second, Dave Walsh.
Mr. Walsh? Everyone understand this? We've seen this before. We've seen these standards before. I believe we also have employed some of this by notifying residents within a 500-foot radius from the benchmark, something we've already done with our recent projects. I remember people participating.
Supply or something.
I remember asking, and at least I was told that.
I believe that would have been for gravel pits, which already require 500 feet, so.
Okay.
It might have been like.
May have been. So we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at item 5. This is a public hearing. Reduce required paper copy submissions. A proposed amendment to the Land Use and Development Code to allow for fewer paper copies of application materials and allow for digital submissions. I look to planning to bring this up.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So what this is a proposal to amend the ordinances to clean them up in some ways and reduce the number of required paper copy submissions. There's a number of places in our ordinance where large numbers of copies of documents are required for submittal for review, but because of advances in technology and the movement toward more electronic reviews, really we need one copy in most cases of documents. So there's also references to Mylar in some cases that need to be removed because that's no longer required. So one thing the board, we're asking the board to look at here is there's sort of two options for the best way to do this. One is to edit or amend the ordinances and then to reduce it down to essentially one copy in most cases. Or create a policy approved by the Community Development Director, which would then reduce the need to revisit this in the future and allow for quicker adoption of new technologies and adjustments based on that. So that's something we're looking for the board to weigh in on, whether you'd like sort of the option one, which we'd suggest be creating a policy subject to the director, community development, or option two is to amend the ordinances, and which would then potentially require going back, and if future amendments are needed. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair. Happy to take questions that come up.
Thank you. As you can imagine, I have some thoughts on this, if you don't mind. I'm looking at, I'm jumping on page 5.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, Mr. Frank?
there might be a public hearing here.
Thank you. I haven't forgotten. I just want to get some wordsmithing in maybe. We're calling these drawings plan views. They're not all plan views. Many of them are, probably 98% of them are. But I'm asking if the word should not be drawing instead of plan.
All right, which section did you say?
On page 5,
Okay.
at the very bottom.
Yep.
Signed copies of the final plan as approved. I understand plan views. In the orthographic projection world, the 6 views commonly used. The plan view is one, it's a bird's eye view, but not all drawings are plans. I would not want us to be hindered by having the word plan and someone misconstrue it. If you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, but it's not all drawings are plan views.
Planning convention calls them a plan.
Well, they're wrong too then.
And also subdivision law, so.
Well,
Stand your ground, Jim.
Plan sheets may be a better term.
I'm just saying technically that's incorrect. But if you're okay with it and the world is saying it, then fine, I'm okay. So it is a public hearing, so I'm going to ask if there is anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this proposal, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. If there is anyone in the audience that is against this proposal, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And finally, if there is anyone that is neutral about this, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. How quickly can I close this public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Okay, folks, what you want to weigh in? We heard two proposals. One, if I understood you, Damon, was that we would not have to go back and edit proposal 2, option 2 rather?
Option 1 is the option to create a policy.
And then you've revised the language to include
Yes, the
that policy.
Yeah.
Correct. The policy
there.
could be amended administratively without having to go back to the planning board.
I like that.
Me too.
Is that a motion?
Well, I at some point I have a question.
Okay.
You know, and I think, Jim, you'll like this question. All right. So if we elect to go down to one copy plan, are we, the planning board members, still going to get our packet?
I think you would still get a packet, at least for now. The policy could be to continue requesting 7 11x17s, which is what we've been asking for. Now,
Yeah.
the problem is that sometimes applicants don't check with us about submittals, because we've already been making some edits to this administratively to reduce paper, because frankly, large amounts of paper end up going to the recycle bin, unfortunately. So, but what we could do is create the policy that would still allow that, those submissions, so that you could get your 11x17s. Until such time as you determine you don't want them anymore.
No, I depend upon it and do all my preparation right on those documents. And, you know, I don't need the big ones. I mean, tonight we had some rather large drawings we didn't need, or plans, I don't know, whatever he wants to call them. But, you know, the 11x17 is fine, or smaller, you know, but I've tried doing the electronic and it just doesn't work for me because I get all this writing all over my computer screen and then it just doesn't come off.
It's not big enough screen.
You're still using an Etch-a-Sketch?
11x17 is perfectly acceptable. I want to, 11x17 is perfectly acceptable, but I'm going to warn you, it's more important about text height than it is about being 11x17. When we reduce a drawing, the average text height is supposed to be 1/8 of an inch. So when reduced an 11x17, it's still readable. But if you're going to take 11x17 and reduce that, you're not going to have readable text. Trust me.
Good point.
Like tonight, I found having a packet that didn't have a drawing in it, but had those big map things here. I had notes on them, but I couldn't open them all back up as we were discussing because of the noise and the clutter and the bigness of them. So I don't know if we request that we don't get the big ones. And is that what you mean by the 11x17s? Yes. Instead, an 11x17, so that we have it right within the packet. Does that make sense? And is that doable, or is that?
Yes, that's already what we've been suggesting. Sometimes applicants don't get that request from us, and they'll provide the large
Isn't that a
plans.
boilerplate application? Drawings will be this?
It's in the ordinance, and so people read the ordinance and submit what's in the ordinance.
That's why we're looking to amend the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, so, which brings us back to, I like the idea of the policy. Keep it easier for you folks, and for us. Yeah.
Yeah, follow it up on that. Yeah, the goal, reduce the number of paper copies, okay. Reduce unnecessary costs and streamline the process. And option 1 does that. Option 2, it may streamline something, but it sure doesn't reduce cost and meetings and stuff. So yeah, option 1 is sensible.
So if you were to make a motion, you would recommend which option you would like to send to the town council?
Yes. Are we ready for a motion?
7 o'clock.
All right. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to move to send the proposed amendments to the next available town council meeting for a public hearing with a recommendation for adoption.
Of,
Option 1.
Of option 1. Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Nichols. Is there a second?
Mr. Frankel, second.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
Discussion? Just as long as option 1 will continue to include
Yeah,
us
well,
getting our hard copies.
Yeah, there's no drawings, there's no me, trust me.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, I hate to...
Point of order, Mr. Chair, you have to.
We did vote.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Point
I
of order,
thought
yep.
unanimous. No, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well done.
More.
Last but not least, item 6. Item 6 is a public hearing, Land Use and Development Code Amendment. Here we go. Accessory dwelling units on private ways ordinance amendments to exempt accessory apartments from the requirement of being considered a dwelling unit as it pertains to private ways, which has nothing to do with curb cuts. I'm looking to planning, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was before the Planning Board for public hearing back in October. It didn't receive any comments. The Planning Board referred the item to Ordinance Committee for further review, and they generated the following recommendations, just to kind of cruise through them. Continue to count ADUs towards the unit count for purposes of determining private way capacity. Set up private way tiers to facilitate easier and less costly upgrades from lower to higher standard of private way. Consider streamlining private way capacity standards. Consider removing the gravel standard or limiting its applicability to 3 lots or fewer. And then consider allowing gravel private ways in the rural area only, requiring paved private ways only in the growth area or in subdivisions. So these were recommendations based on review by the Ordinance Committee, and this is back in front of you as a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Before I have this public hearing, on page 3, I'm sorry, you had done some homework on this, and you said based on a 1,000-foot private road, the cost to add 2.5 inches of 40K to 50K.
Correct.
Would it be appropriate to put in there based on December 2025 cost?
Construction costs, we could add that as a note. To your point, those numbers are based off of bid tabs from the main DOT bidding.
Can we put an
system.
asterisk or something, a subscript someplace? I just think it would be appropriate for someone to say, it's 70, 80K, where did he come up with these numbers? You worked hard to get these, and I think we should give credit where we discovered them.
Yeah, I mean, in that same paragraph, it does say based on tonnage of asphalt and recent main DOT bid prices, we can change recent to 2025. If
Thank you.
that makes sense.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there was anyone that would like to speak in favor of this issue, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone that that is against this proposal, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And finally, if there was anyone that would like to speak neutrally about this proposal, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. I see no one rising. I will close the public hearing. Colonel Benson, please.
Yeah, I'm for the staff, I'm confused. Are we voting on the recommendations that we made? Because the way the amendment is written here, it says has the original language, which we talked about. For example, it talks about not considering ADUs instead of, and we're recommending that we do. So I'm not sure. It also has accessory apartments, and we talked about changing the language to ADU, so we have consistent language, and we're referring to these as the same things, because an accessory apartment somebody may be confused as to whether that's an ADU or not. So I'm not sure what we would be recommending to send to the town council. Do we need to vote on the language that they sent us and either vote yay or nay and send that back to them with recommendations? Or how are we supposed to proceed on this?
My recollection, since it was before the ordinance committee, my recollection was that we were bringing it out to a public hearing, which we have now concluded, just to see if we got anything, which we didn't.
And then go back?
And then I think we were going to go back to the ordinance committee and then draft something to move back to the council. And Chuck, I think that was your counsel.
That's correct, because at this point, I think the only updates to the land use and development code are that original language.
Yeah, and we don't
To create, we would have to go back to another workshop and create that language and vote on that.
That's easy.
Will it be a language that would be recommending, or would it be like a letter to the council?
We would be making adjustments directly to the land use and development code based on those meetings. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, and then, I mean, it doesn't prevent somebody, if it needs a letter from the chair or one of us go to the council meeting and just speak to it when it goes back to them. But
I I'll look to Carol too here, but I do think it's up to the board how you'd like to proceed. You could recommend that the council not adopt the change also, would be another option.
Well, I think we've had a lot of discussion on it. I'd hate to say just don't adopt without providing, I mean, we had over two meetings on it, and I think we need to communicate our feelings or our opinions and reasoning for such.
Is the town council waiting for this vote?
Not this evening. It's not a burning issue.
Okay.
It was at one point, wasn't it? Weren't they getting some pressure?
At some point, somebody wanted to
Yeah,
work
I'm right here.
on a project.
I'll eat the thing.
At some point, somebody wanted to work on an ADU project. And
Yeah.
so this is something that was brought by a resident of town.
Yeah.
So you want to get the language right, so
Yeah.
it's,
All right, so I guess we take it back to the ordinance committee. And then we figure out how that gets drafted, and then that has to come back before all of us again. And before it goes on to council.
correct.
But hopefully we can get something out of the ordinance committee that's clean and just bring it back here. All right. So we don't have, the proposed motions on the back here really don't fit, do they?
The middle one does, doesn't it?
Oh, does it? All right. Oh, all right. So
Sorry,
I'll
real
move to
quick.
send the proposed.
Sorry, Mr. Norton?
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry, Mr. Walsh, real
Oh,
quick.
sure.
Is there any discussion on the recommendations that came out of ordinance committee for town staff to adjust or?
I mean, a lot of them are consider, so.
So what we can do is, so basically write this, use all of these recommendations, bring it back to the ordinance committee. Okay, just, good, thank you.
No, yeah, I think you captured it well. So, Mr. Chairman, I move to send the proposed amendment to Chapter 300, Part 2, General Standards of Performance, Section 2.38, Standards for Private Ways, to the Ordinance Committee for workshop review and recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Colonel. Any other discussion? Mr. Norton, or someone is going to edit this and then come back to a workshop for the committee. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And I hate to say, we have to wind it up. Is there any other business to come before us?
Does the board have any preference on when that ordinance committee will meet? We did discuss having a full board workshop before the next planning board meeting. You have a,
Burden from the council.
do it as the board's
Sure,
available.
sure, right? I mean, is that,
Right.
motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Frank.
Second.
Thank you to Ben Dyke. Thank you to Mr. Norton. Thank you to the planning department. Thank you for all for adjusting the schedule this evening. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Good night. Stay warm.